let's look at parsing in WoW, and then there's a couple of things about Diablo 4 we're going to take a look at.
I think it's a problem. Also, I'll explain what parsing is in case you don't know. This video is a little different than my normal guide content, so if you like this video, please go down below and leave a like.
Why is it that every guy that's from Classic WoW is like a middle-aged man that's balding? And you know that's why he's wearing the hat. Like, and I mean, look, I'm not trying to roast you, man. Like, I understand it. But, like, damn, how is it so fucking consistent?
Like, a comment, or subscription to the channel. It will help me know if you guys want more content like this in the future where I talk about the game in a more general way.
Okay, let's
Without
see.
further ado, let's start with answering what is a
I'm gonna be honest, like, look at that gear right there. I don't know what the fuck dagger that is, but it's not the Algalon dagger. No wonder this dude hates parsing.
parse. A parse is a score from 1 to 100 assigned to your individual performance on a boss by the website Warcraft Logs. It is a ranking comparing your performance against the performance of all other players of the same class and talent specialization for that boss.
Yep.
A 99th percentile score means you performed better than 99% of other players that you're being compared to. There are some immediate implications for this. Since a parse is a measure of how you compare to others, if you do the same DPS one week as the next, and the average player does slightly more DPS the next
parse
week,
goes down.
as is often the case, your parse will be lower, even though you did the same DPS.
That's right.
If other players are using specific talent specializations or entire raid strategies designed around maximizing their parses, and
I used to do this, but my guild didn't know it until the pull started.
you and your raid are not, you'll be at a disadvantage and parse lower using normal talents or strategies. Parses usually impact players playing World of Warcraft by some groups requiring players joining the group to have parses above a certain level.
Really?
They do this to filter out players they don't think will contribute much to the success of the team. As you'll
Yep,
see
that's
from this
true.
video, that system isn't perfect, but no doubt it's better than doing the same thing with gear score. The first problem, and I think the main problem, is that strategies optimal for scoring a high parse often differ from strategies optimal.
Well, he's right about this. The problem is that people that parse higher are probably going to be better on average than people that parse lower. That doesn't mean that you're good for parsing higher, but pretty much every single person that's very good is probably parsing at least kind of high. And bad players never parse high.
For raid success, actually killing the boss. Warcraft Logs has their own set of rules for what counts and what does not
That's
count
true.
for damage output on each boss. I believe Warcraft Logs tries to align their parse rules with raid optimal strategies as much as they can, but parse-oriented players will always plan strategies strictly around the parse rules, which
That's
often
right.
diverge from raid optimal strategies.
That's right. You never listen to the raid leader. You never listen to the raid. You never read the fight. You never listen to calls. You never follow DBM. You hit the boss. And if there's ads up, you AoE the ads, but only if the ads will increase your parse. If they won't, you don't AoE the ads. You keep hitting the boss. Unless hitting the ads increases the damage that you do to the boss, in which case you kill the ads.
Vanilla and Burning
That's right.
Crusade, many bosses had very few mechanics, and this meant
That's
that
true.
usually the optimal parse strategy was the same as the optimal raid success strategy. With significantly more complicated bosses in Wrath of the Lich King, we see a greater divergence between parsing strategies and raid success strategies. For example, the swarms of dozens of small cats summoned on Oriaya do not count for your damage parse on that boss according to Warcraft Log's parsing rules. A player trying to score a high parse would not press their AoE ability to quickly dispatch them, whereas a player trying to maximize the success of their raid would see a clear opportunity for effective use of AoE, killing those.
I'll cut the memes. Parsing is bad for the game. And if you took parsing out of WoW, the game would be a better experience for average players. Because people don't play to kill the boss. They play to do a lot of DPS. It's like whenever I said don't attack the boss at the start yesterday whenever we were doing some raid, and everybody, as soon as I pulled the boss, I'm gonna parse on this fucking Shadowlands boss right now. Yeah, it's just that simple. It's fucking annoying, but there it is.
those cats quickly and minimizing the damage the cats deal to the raid. Another example of the conflict between optimal parsing and optimal raid execution can be seen on the most difficult version of Yogg Saron, what is known as Zero Lights. In this version of the encounter, the immortal guardians in the third phase are actually immortal and cannot die. Early on, it is good and useful to deal damage to them because when they have lower health, they deal less damage to your tank. Eventually, your raid will have too many guardians alive and begin kiting them and attempt to burn the boss down quickly. At this point, dealing more damage to the guardians is not helping your raid succeed at all. Under Warcraft Log's rules, all damage dealt to the Immortal Guardians counts towards your parse. A player looking to help their raid have the best chance of killing the boss will ignore the Guardians once they start being kited and focus on the boss. A parse-chasing player will see the juicy AoE opportunity and spam Fan of Knives, Seed of Corruption, or whatever AoE spell they have on the huge pack of Immortal Guardians, which means they deal little or no damage to the boss, but maximize.
And then everybody's going to see that parse, and like a year later, here's the thing. Nobody's going to remember the nuance of how the parse happened. They're just going to see that 100, and they're going to be like, wow, this guy's really good.
Their parse. Even down to the individual player, you can find examples of ability usage that differs between someone trying to be the most valuable they can be to their team and someone trying to score high on Warcraft logs. The rogue ability Tricks of the Trade is a good example. It costs 15 energy and buffs another player's damage by 15% for 6 seconds. This is easily one of the most efficient ways a rogue can convert energy to damage, and a good rogue playing to maximize the team's performance will press this almost every time it's available. However, under Warcraft Log's rules, the damage increase from Tricks of the Trade is not attributed to the rogue who cast it or to the player who receives it. It's factored out. A parse-oriented player will forego this exceptionally efficient way to increase raid damage because it spends 15 energy.
It's like throwing away 15 energy. It's pointless.
On something that does not increase their own
He's totally
parse.
right about everything
Instead, they can spend that 15 energy on an ability that contributes less overall to the raid, but improves their individual parse. Many defensive abilities are met with, "That's what healers are for," and not used by parse-oriented players if the defensive costs them any amount of damage output.
Or
a player who recognizes they are part of a team will make efficient use of defensives to reduce total raid damage taken, which allows the healers to devote their attention elsewhere, or even just bring less healers to the raid. I could go on and on with examples of parse-oriented strategies that differ from raid success-oriented strategies, but I think you guys get the idea. As fights become more complex, the optimal parse strategies and the
this happens in retail WoW. If you took damage meters out of retail WoW and parsing didn't exist, it would nerf the raid by a factor that is greater than any Blizzard nerf on any fight ever. And it would nerf every single raid that way.
Optimal raid success strategies diverge. The way I see it, you have a divide in the community with two types of players. You have some players who are interested in optimizing their individual score according to rules set by Warcraft logs, and you have other players focused on being an effective member of a team. The second big problem with parses is that they are an individual score assigned to something that is highly influenced by external factors outside of the control of the individual.
This is very true. Like in high-level parsing, what really matters a lot is your kill time, and then there are certain kill time thresholds that will yield more DPS. Certain, like, if more ads spawn, a kill time that's longer is better, or a kill time within, like, the kill times closer to different 40-second intervals in the fight are going to be higher. It's very common.
This external factor here is kill time for bosses. This has a big influence because every class has some form of damage boosting cooldown that only lasts a short time. A faster kill means each player spends a larger percentage of time with powerful buffs like Heroism or Metamorphosis or Adrenaline Rush active, which has a pretty substantial impact on their overall damage per second. What this means is you can have a good player who makes all their own decisions optimally for damage output, but they're stuck in a raid group with people who are not performing as well or not really investing in optimizing their characters. The slow kill times of the raid have a significant negative impact on the good player's parse ranking, while having little or nothing to do with the skill of the player. Similarly...
Oh, absolutely. And it's the same with like AoEing ads or doing anything like that. If you're supposed to be AoEing ads and you're not doing it because of the parse rules or something like that, this is clearly playing for a reason that's other than the actual boss kill. And there are plenty of people that are good players that don't have great parses. Sure. Like, I would say people that are at like an average parse of like 30 or 40, unless they're like the tank or they're raid leading or there's like some other specific reason for that, they're probably garbage. But anybody like that's doing 60, 70% and above that, it could be any reason. Yeah, 75 plus. Yeah, 75 plus is purple. Yeah, whatever. I think that's fine. But yeah, if you're down there like every boss fight is like 20%, 30%, you're probably shit at the game.
A fairly mediocre player who does most things right, but isn't really optimizing their damage output very well in a very strong performance group. This player is likely to score even better parses than the good player in the bad raid,
just
carried. Because they have faster boss kill times.
Exactly.
For example, maybe the player in the fast kill time group spends about 40% of the fight with heroism active, whereas the player in the slow kill time group spends only 30% of the fight with heroism active.
And there are also circumstances where you will do better DPS with slower kill times.
With assigning an individual score to something that is a team effort is that the individual score isn't really measuring the individual's performance. It's measuring the individual's performance combined with the performance of the team they are participating in. This makes it a bad tool to evaluate the individual because it's not clear how much of that is due to the individual and how...
Nobody's going to stop using parses. This is just the way WoW players are programmed. Do big number. Anything that gets in the way of that won't happen. So if they have to move, they won't move. If they have to hit an ad, they won't hit the ad. If they have to stop to cast a spell, it's not going to happen. You just have to play around it. Because you can't untrain people to not parse in WoW, especially classic WoW. They will parse and that's it. They're like bots.
How much is due to the team they are playing with. Okay, so what's the big deal? So what if some players want to plan their entire raids around a rule set invented by Warcraft logs? So what if parse rankings are not a good measure of individual player performance?
It's how everybody ranks
I think this
themselves.
both is and isn't a problem. One of the great things about World of Warcraft is there are so many different ways to enjoy the game. One of the most difficult parts about World of Warcraft is finding a group of like-minded individuals who like to enjoy the game the same way you do. There's nothing wrong with some people getting together who like to hyper-optimize their raid strategies around Warcraft Log's rule set for parsing and pursuing that goal.
Totally agree with that. I think watching, like speed kills of bosses and speed kills of raids is like really cool and fun. The problem is it becomes the entire culture of the game, and everybody plays that way, not just those guilds.
So plenty of high-performance teams who are smart enough to recognize that a player's parses don't tell the full story of whether they are a good player or not. I think a large part of the community both overemphasizes the importance of parses and at the same time
because it's easy. You just look at the number. Is he good or not? I don't know. Is the number high? Yeah, okay, then he's good. Oh, it's a low number? Oh, he's bad. He sucks. That guy's terrible.
Really understand what a parse number means or represents. I think a player's parses are far too often interpreted as a measure of that player's skill when much more than the individual player's skill factors into their parses. The overemphasis on parses often comes up in parse requirements for joining groups. This is similar to gear score requirements, where group leaders want an easy way to filter out people who might not contribute much to the group's success. For this filtering function, it isn't important that parses are a perfect measure of someone's skill, just that they are the best available method. Until something better comes along, we're stuck with parse rankings being the easiest way to evaluate a player.
That's the reality, is because there's so big of a pug culture and it's so pervasive in WoW that you need a way to objectively or to have a numerical way of evaluating people at scale. like whether it's gear score, item level, parses, or like anything, there's going to be some way that a player is like fucking turned into a number. And that's just the way WoW is. Why is WoW like that? One of the biggest reasons why WoW is like that is because bringing the wrong player can cost hours of time. Hours and hours and hours of extra time because somebody doesn't fucking understand it. So the reason why all MMOs are like this, there is a spectrum of it being like this, and WoW is the worst. And the reason why WoW is the worst, metagaming is stronger in MMOs that have more punishing fail states. Because if you don't have a very punishing fail state, who gives a fuck if somebody messes it up? Who cares? It doesn't really matter. But if somebody fucks up and now you've got to wait 10 minutes to do another pull, you're going to be a lot more careful with who you're inviting. And that's how systems and punishing mechanics create parsing culture. Is that whenever you make people punished, you punish people so much for making a mistake, you make them even more selective with who they want to invite because they don't want to have somebody who's going to make a mistake. It's just logical.
It is a sad state of the game that parses are so heavily emphasized by much of the player base, especially now in Wrath of the Lich King with such a divergence between parse optimal strategies compared to raid success optimal strategies. Yep. It feels like there are two different games being played. I hope that from watching this video, you've gained some understanding about what a parse ranking is and what it actually represents. I think you'll enjoy World of Warcraft a lot more not caring about parses than trying to chase convoluted strategies based around Warcraft logs made up rule sets.
I don't know if you'll enjoy it more. I think that some people will, some people won't. That's a subjective analysis. I really enjoyed getting parses whenever I did it. Now I don't care about it. My enjoyment is about the same.
Thanks for watching the Simonize Show. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Can't wait for more sweet videos? Links are on screen that you can watch right now. Be sure to join the Discord server and pop by on Twitch to catch me live. Links to both are in the video description. Thank you for watching and have a great day.
This is a really good video. I actually really liked him. Like everybody was like memeing on him, like looking at the camera. But I think this guy just, all he did was he spent 10 minutes spitting pure fucking facts. There is nothing that he said except for maybe in the end that you'll have more fun without parses that I would disagree with at all. I think he's totally right in everything that he said. Abso-fucking-lutely, yeah. Yeah, there you go. There's the video. I'm going to 100% fucking support this one. This is a great video. I like it a lot. Well, top comment. This gruel I played on just now with my fucking boomkin, bro. I'm fuck 50 parse every week, bro, because I have to fucking battle res a knob that died to shatter, and my raid leader fucking say, milk battle res the knob now. But this week I was fucking pumping, man, doing DPS like never before. My raid leader fucking told me to battle res again. I said, fuck you, and deafen Discord, and fucking pump the boss. And you know what, bro? I had a 60 parse. Highest in the whole raid, and he fucking G-kicked me. That's right. And you know what? Now with those parses, he'll be able to join a better guild that he doesn't have to battle res people in. That's right. Straight fucking pumping, bro. Oh my god, Grandmother Saint? Yeah, well, I mean, he was doing damage. He's not reading books, man. He's pumping. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, this is definitely a very good video. I think this is a big topic. I don't think there's anything that's going to stop this, by the way. Because the problem is that because Warcraft Logs is able to... like, divide information in this specific way, they can make parses relevant. For example, like if all damage that you did at all times was relevant, parses would actually matter a lot less because they would all be cheese strats. The reason why people focus on parses is because there is some semblance of fairness to them. For example, If Warcraft logs wanted to make parses less valid and less relevant, they would make all damage that you deal in Yogg-Saron to like all of... Oh, I guess they do that. Well, never mind. That's actually what they do, is they just let you hit the ads as much as you want. And guess what? I can guarantee you, if you go and you look at the top parses on Yogg-Saron, it's going to be people AoEing the ads. 100%. Because that's what does the most damage. So as soon as you see, and also like a lot of people in WoW, like this isn't classic, a lot of people are just stupid. So they see somebody who's doing 12,000 DPS and everybody else is doing 6. They're going to think this guy is just the greatest player in the game. There's never been a better player than this guy. He's doing 12k DPS. Yes, it's all Seed of Corruption on the ads that take no damage, but they don't know that. They have no idea. So yeah. What they did on Yogg is the only relevant damage on the ad that matters. When the ads reach 0 HP, they stop counting towards the parse. Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. But the truth is that the reason why they try to manage it and micromanage the way people parse is the reason why people care about parses. It's because it is... The more that you can cheese something, the less that it matters. And the less people try to chase it because they know they'll never get anywhere close. But because people know that if they do certain things, they'll be able to go closer to that parse, that's why they do it. On retail, parses don't show damage done to failed mechanics, getting frozen on council and doing damage to the ice. And if you get too many external buffs, it doesn't show either. Yeah, but like, the problem is like, I know that because we had an entire raid. So we did this in like Nilotha. Remember that? Whenever we got like 30 arcane mages and we killed every boss in like 30 seconds. And then... Oh, we did it with tanks as well, and like every tank in my raid got a 100 parse, but they just disqualified all of our parses. That's why people care so much about parses, is because it's held up in this high regard, and they're trying to like make it seem like it's it's relevant and it's fair and it's authentic. The truth is that parses, I think, do more harm than good for the game. And I think it's by a large margin. How do I know that? Because I was one person who cared about parses, and I ruined my whole raid. Think about this. I was a best in slot, 99% parsing Fury Warrior and Arms Warrior, depending on the fight. I had the best gear. And whenever I stopped raiding, nobody was mad. Nobody said, come back, Asmon. Nobody. They were all relieved. They're like, thank God, his reign of terror is over. Would it be better if it was an in-game system like leaderboards and rankings? Yeah, I think that would be better. It's hard to say, but overall, like, yeah, parsing is toxic for the game. I was very toxic about it. I even made videos about how to parse in the best ways. And guess what? If you go back, a lot of those strats worked. I think you find it hard. Good players without parses, though. I feel like there's no other metric close to being a good measurement of player skill. That's why people use parses, is because it's the best metric. It's a bad metric, but it's the best metric.